Hi, everybody. Good evening. Good evening to everybody. Nice to see everybody.
Hello.
So let's get started without further ado.
Hello, Rabbi. Do you hear me? Do you hear me?
How are you, Nisim?
Shalom, Rabbi. How are you? Good to see you.
How was Shabbat?
Baruch Hashem, it was good. Yeah, it was good. How was yours?
Good, very good. Very nice. Thank you.
Baruch Hashem. Onward and forward, yeah?
Baruch Hashem.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, we're getting somewhere.
Did we finish the tour, Rabbi?
Good question. Let me see where we are. It's a very good question. Oh, so my marker is on hay. But wait, that can't be, no, that's a different one. I'm sorry. 1 second. That's a different story. Yeah, it looks like we read the tour, right?
We finished it.
Finished it, right? Yeah, so we got to go to Bet Yosef, basically. Okay. Got to pull it up 1 second. How's the family doing? Everybody good? How's the family doing? Good, everybody's good? Fantastic. Okay. All right. Siman Chet. Okay, let's see what we can get out of here. So it says Bet Yosef. Can go to the Samak. So we didn't do Bet Yosef at all? From your recollection? We didn't do it at all, right? We didn't do nothing. Bet Yosef. We didn't do it at all.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, let's start from the beginning. You got the place? Miyad. So it says Miyad achad netilat yadav. After washing your hands, right? Itatep tzitzit. It says right the Torah. You gotta wrap yourself with tzitzit me'omed, which means you stand. Ken katuv b'samak. That's what it says in samak. Siman tzadik bet. But ta'ama. What's the reason why? Mishum degamar lachem misifrat omer. Oh, so there's a gezerah Shabbat. 2 words which are similar in the verses. So they learn from Sfirat Omer, just like Sfirat Omer. Dichtiv be'kama be'perush be'koma. So regarding Sfirat Omer, counting the Omer, it says you have to stand. Right? Also, this rabbi brings that. Also, this rabbi, so it says that which we have, it says in Yerushalmi, it says, all the blessings should be standing. So it says, mitzvot kama. It's talking about the bracha of mitzvot, okay, which means like this, tzitzit, tefillin, right? All these kinds of things. It's not talking about things which are for for pleasure, for benefit. Okay, yeah. So regarding tefillin, right? By the way, right? There's an issue there. The Sephardim, they sit when they put on the shalyad. Right? They don't do it standing. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Just gonna ask her.
Oh, okay, yeah. I knew it was a natural question.
Kabbalah.
No, this is the opinion of the Rif and the Rambam, if I'm not mistaken. You have to sit when you put the tefillin shalyad. Yeah, we'll get to that. Bezat Hashem, after Tzitzit, we'll get to that. And
There was something about
I'm sorry.
the Olam Beriya.
Could be also Kabbalistic something there, but yeah, I see what you mean. But the truth is, it's also the Shita of the Shulchan Aruch.
Also said.
Yeah. Shulchan. So, okay, so let's go on. So we're going to do now, we're going to do Shulchan Aruch Aleph, right? On the other side. So it's a very short one. What does it say? Itatef betzitzit veivarech me'omed. Wrap yourself with tzitzit and you bless standing, right? Okay, very good, very simple, right? Doesn't necessarily mean, by the way, that you should bless after you wrap. It's not meant to be that. You know what I mean? Even though it implies that a little bit in the language. But as we said, right, the general rule is you have to do the bracha before the mitzvah. This is the general rule in Talmud. You know what I mean? So here also, there should be no difference. Okay, good. So let's get back to Bet Yosef Bet. Right? It says Bet Aleph there if you have that, right? The Seder Atifato, Pershu Geonim, right? So how do you put it on? The Geonim explained, Katifat Ishmaelim, right? The Ishmaelim, right? The Arabs. She Atifat Gemura, which means what? That it's like a real kind of wrapping, Like it's a real wrap. Today people like wraps, wraps in fashion. So it says, it seems like, what's the reason why? Because it says leitatef, so it implies like to wrap yourself, not just to wear it. Like it says over there in Tosfot, Be'achot, Perek Vav, and it says Alma, so it says, you see from there, ituf bainan, we need ituf, which is like wrapping. With Perek Elo Migalachin, so it says over there, Mod Katan, Gemara Mod Katan, I'm sorry, you were going to say something? Amar Shemuel, says Shemuel, Kol Atifa Shena Katifat Ishmaelim. Oh, so Shemuel says, right, if you don't do like the Ishmaelim, Ena Atifa, that's not really called Atifa, it's not really called wrapping. Mechave Rav Nachman Al Gove Dikna, right? So Rav Nachman showed him how to do it. What did he do? He did it on the top of his beard, right? So like this kind of thing, right? Covering, yeah. Peresh Rashi, Mechave Rav Nachman. So Rashi explains, right? Rav Nachman showed him how to do it. Atifat Ishmaelim. What is Atifat Ishmaelim? Cover yourself like this. Go be dikna, right? Gumot shebelechi lemata mipiv. So he says, I didn't say it right? He's saying, right? Rashi explains, what is the top of the beard, right? Whatever. It says these are the holes in the jaw, right? Yeah, whatever. Yeah. Lemata mipiv, right? Below his mouth. So like this, right?
Not covering the face.
Right, not covering the face. Yes.
Not the mouth is uncovered. So.
Yeah, we'll see that, Bezat Hashem. You're probably right. That's the way. Yeah, that's the way it comes out. Yes, that's the way it comes out. Absolutely. So then it goes on. Ubalai too. Like we said, the two doesn't require this, right? Ishmaelim he doesn't need that. Next piece in the Bet Yosef after that. Ubalai too. That's how it starts. You get that? Bet Yosef? Okay, so it says Balai too. Katab the lo bainan kulehai. It says you don't need all that stuff, right? Ishmaelim, we don't need all this. Ela kederech shebnei adam metchasin bechistan. Just like you wear your clothing, normal wearing. So it says the Maran. It says it seems like the reason is like this. Like it says over there in this Gemara, which is Moed Katan. The Rav Palig aleh de Shmuel, because Rav was cholek on Shmuel about this. He was arguing with Shmuel. Mashma the Svira le Datifa Tarosh. So it's mashma that Rav holds that the wrapping of the head doesn't mean to be Ishmaelim. It's called atifa. In other words, you're still considered to be wrapping it. The fact that you cover it is enough. So he says, right, what is the reason why he passed in this way? Because there's a rule in halacha, Rav and Shmuel, when it comes to prohibitions, we go like Rav. You know what I mean? So halacha is like Rav. So you don't need Ishmaelim. That's pretty much what he's saying. So he says, Rabbeinu Agadol Mari Abuhav, right, our big rabbi, Katab Shetamod, the lo bainan atifat Ishmaelim. He says, what's the reason why they don't need Ishmaelim? Only you need for abelut, for mourning. אבל גבי ציצית, when it comes to tzitzit, שהתורה חייבה אותו, that the Torah obligated you בכסות, with clothing to wear it, not to really wrap yourself, yeah.
What do you mean by avel? So what you're supposed to wrap
The avel, it covers his head.
all of it?
Something like that. Today we don't do it anymore, by the way. They stopped this custom. But in the old days, he was like, he used to walk around like, like those terrorists, with the covered head, You ever see those guys? That's the way he used to walk around.
Wow.
Whatever, something like that, right? So, yeah. But as we said, right, it's really like up to here, right? Not the whole face. Okay, so anyway, right? So it says it's really just covering basically. Oh, so it says after a long time, the Itur received some new information, right? He sees this language. Oh, so now see what's the problem, right? The Balai Tur paskined against the Geonim. You know what I mean? And now what happened was that he got some kind of information, some document. The Geonim argued with him about this. You know what I mean? They said Ishmaelim, the Geonim. Oh, so now Balai Tur wakes up, and says, "Oh my God, if I would have known this, right? Let's see, right? Atifa Gemara, Mistabralan the Atifa Ishmaelim lo uzkira ela l'gabi avelut." So he says, "Oh, look what it says, right? That's only for avelut." Right? The Amar Shemuel, Shmuel says, "Kol atifa shena katifat Ishmaelim." Says Shmuel, any wrapping which is not like the Ishmaelim, and not atifa. It's not atifa. Mechaver Rav Nachman. So Rav Nachman showed him at Goved Dikna right over here, right? Perush tzarich lechasot piv. You got to cover your mouth, right? According to this opinion, right? So v'hatam hu dichtiv, and there it's written. Lo ta'ate al safam miklal dekuli alma mechayve. Oh, so look what it says, right? That to Yechezkel, Hashem said, "Don't cover your mustache." So you see from there, right? The stam avel has to cover his mustache. That's the way they learn it, because he told him not to do it. After, not to do avelut, even though he was liable for that. So mechayve umsara, right? Umsara kativ regarding the mitzvah, regarding the leper, it says al safam ya'ate. It says, right, cover your mustache. Also, right, somebody who's excommunicated. Kami bayalan. Oh, that's talking about excommunication. Okay. So he has to also cover his face. Another one, right? Another one. Like these guys over here. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What's the connection? Here's a balloon, here's a leper, right? But here we're doing the mitzvah of Tzitzit.
Right. So the question is, where do we learn from? You know what I mean? Do we go this way? Do we go that way? Right? There's different ways of approaching it. So, aval kuli alma lo mechayev atifat rosh. But it says really, right? They don't require to cover your, to wrap your head. Deim ken yechaseh piv, because then he should also cover his mouth. V'chi Rabbi Yehuda bar Eli shaya mitatef besadinim hamsuyatzim. So it says, but Rabbi Yehuda bar Eli, right, who was one of the big Tanaim of the Talmud, right, of the Mishnah. What was he covering himself with? He says sheets that are with tzitzit. Sorry, 1 second. Let me just read that one more time. Right. So he was covering with the tzitzit. Also, it says the chatanim, the grooms. Were they doing so much like that? So in other words, he's trying to say, right, that you see from these examples that you don't really need that much, to do the Ishmaelim thing. Right, and even though we bless leitatef, so it's mashma you got to wrap, right? Kisui leitatef kisui dichtiv asher tichaseba. But when it comes to covering, it says you should cover sheminhag bnei adam shemechasin bichsutan. So he says people, in general, right, the way they do is they cover themselves with clothing. They do their business, whatever, they go around. Right? Sometimes it's open, sometimes, the hoodie's open, sometimes the hoodie's closed. That's the way it is, right? So that's the way it is. So it says this comes out like Rabbi Magadol, which is Rabbi Awab. So, but basically, right, the conclusion of Maran seems to be here that you don't really need Ituf Ishmaelim, right? I think that's the way it's going to pass in the Shulchan Aruch also, right? But there is a custom to do it that way. There's a minhag. Okay, but not really according to halacha so much.
Wait, you do it?
Okay,
You do it yourself?
I can't tell you. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. If I have time.
Right.
You know what I mean? If I'm not in a hurry, like one of your days over there, right?
Yeah.
The truth is, when I was young, like I had a rabbi from Lakewood I was going to him, Psak Halacha. I asked him, I said, do you have to do it? He told me no. I said, just put it on straight. I said, you don't need it. He told me, so I wasn't doing it. That's the way my rabbi told me. Okay, whatever. But then, they told me in Israel, it's like a minhag, minhag. So, you know what I mean? Yeah, whatever. Yeah, but it's, yeah. Okay, so anyway, right? Yeah, a little exercise, So, okay, so that's that. We're going to go now to Shulchan Aruch, unless we have some more bit Yosef here, hidden somewhere, hiding somewhere. 1 second. Okay, we'll go to Shulchan Aruch. Bet.
I think together.
Yeah, no problem. We'll do that afterwards. So it says in Shulchan Aruch. Okay, so it says like this, right, Maran? Seder Atifato. You see that one? How do you wrap? Just like people put on clothing. And do their work, like businessman, right? Sometimes it's open, sometimes you're closed. So it says it's proper, you should cover your head. Right? At least that much. It doesn't say Ishmaelim, but at least cover your head. It's proper to do that. But even that's not really necessary, according to halacha. If you cover your body, that's also enough.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Okay, but the minhag is to do also their head, obviously.
So just put it over and that's it.
Yeah, I mean that's really the basic halacha, Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Simple.
But the cool thing is to do the Ishmaelim. There's the cool guys, they do.
Takes time though, right?
Okay, takes time. Yeah, whatever. But if you know how to do it, it's like really fast. Whatever, it's everything. Okay, so we're done with that, and we're going now to. By the way, ladies, ladies are exempt from tzitzit, right? They're exempt, right? So okay, so I don't expect you to buy a talit now. Don't go to the store now and buy one. Okay. Okay. Right. The question is, are they allowed to put it? So the truth is that the rabbis try to dissuade them. Try to discourage them from putting on talit, because today, it's like the reform ladies that do this. It became like the reform custom. The reform ladies now put on talit. These are crazy women, all kinds of crazy ladies. So therefore, the rabbis now discourage that from the women to do that. Okay, so they're not really obligated. So what's the reason, by the way, they're not obligated? We're going to see that later on, but because it's a time-bound mitzvah, which is positive mitzvah, which is time-bound, right? What does it mean time-bound? You're not obligated at night, only in the daytime. So this is the reason why women are exempt from tzitzit. Okay.
I do have a question. So men get protected because I heard your previous teachings that men get protected at night if they're not married. How about for women wearing it at night for protection too?
Yeah, well, yeah, I see what you mean, but the truth is, the custom is not like that. That women don't put it, and but I mean, look, if you do something in your house and nobody really sees you, nobody's going to complain about that. But it's yeah. But you know what it is? I'll tell you something. If women are exempt, that means that Hashem has other ways to protect them. You know what I mean? That's one thing. But also, there's another issue, which is that men need extra protection more than the women. Why is that, by the way? What's the reason why? Men need more protection. Because men have issues, with the zera levatala, wasted seed and all these kinds of things, which has issues. Women don't have this issue. So therefore, men do need a little bit extra protection. The Yetzer Hara is a little bit bigger than the man, when it comes to, these matters, So that's why men need it a little bit more. There's one place I saw, some book. I don't remember what it was, but they asked a good question. You know what it was? Excuse my frankness, okay? But who has more of a desire for, sexual desire, men or women? This is the question. And according to the Torah, what's the answer, right? So they proved that men have more. How did they prove it? What's the proof? Listen to this, okay? Because when it comes to Shimshon, what happened with Delilah, right? Delilah, she was able to refrain, but he was not. He gave in. That's how she beat him. So you see from there that men have a bigger desire than the women do. So this is why the men need bigger protection. Oh, now we know why. Okay, that's one reason why. Okay, God bless you. Anyway, right, let's go on. So we're now going to Gimel, right? Gimel Bet Yosef. Okay, got that? B'derech hatifa rechava lekumat ish. Right. So he says you have to put it on like on the width of your body or something like that, right? We'll see what that means. Gamze melashon balai tu. This is also from Itu. You see the word of this? So it says klomar means to say that mipnei shederech ituf kachu. This is the way you wrap yourself, right? In other words, you put it on your shoulders, right, and it droops down on your body, right, like like a sheet or something, right? So he says from here, let's talk about talit katan, right, the little one, the little guy, right? Lo nafkinan be yedei chovat tzitzit. So it really implies, that you can't really fulfill your obligation of tzitzit with talit katan. What's the reason why? Because it doesn't really cover the lower part of the body, only the upper part. So it's not really like a whole. It's not a full, it's not a full garb. According to this language, that's what he's saying, right? Yeah.
What about the talit gadol that here people wear? It's up to the waist.
Yeah, that's not really big enough. Then that's not really talit gadol. That's talit katan. This is the problem. It's like a reform custom, they wear those short ones. It doesn't do the job. It's not big enough to be talit gadol. No, I'm not saying that, but I don't know what it's tell you. It's just not the right way to do it. That's what I'm telling you. It's not the right way to do it. So anyway, right, as we said, why? Because it says it's not really that long, right? The katav Rabbeinu Agadol Mari Abuhav says Mari Abuhav. But since Rabbeinu in the tour wrote close by, Shem Yesh Lo Tzitzit Bechaluko. If a person has tzitzit in his cloak, whatever, right, that thing that he wears, that vest, Yachol Elolavsho Miyad, he can read it right away. So you see from there he holds Nafkina Behane Talitot Ktanim, that we do fulfill obligation with Talit Katan, right? According to that. Yedei Chobat Tzitzit. The whole beggar sheyesh lo. By the way, we hold that you do fulfill your obligation. That's how we hold. That's why we wear it. Otherwise, we wouldn't waste our time. Right. Wearing an extra layer of clothing for no reason. Right? The whole beggar sheyesh lo arba kanfon. Why? Because every beggar which has 4 corners, chayav betzitzit, he is liable for tzitzit. Mash katav b'derech hatifa rechava. Now what you said, it has to be like down, going down. Mekomat ish, the whole body, the height of the body. Shirotzel lomar, he needs to say rochav beged the komat ish. So you know what he needs to say? That the width has to cover, the whole width of the body. Lo amar zeh ela outside yoter tov. So he says this is only just something good, in other words, it's not obligation. It doesn't hold the mitzvah back. It's not crucial for the mitzvah.
Rabbi, so
interesting.
Technically speaking, you don't need the talit gadol.
I'm sorry?
Technically speaking, to pray.
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah. So really the truth is, that the custom is to put talit gadol for prayers, at least shachrit. The truth is, in the old days, they used to put also for mincha and arvit. And then they stopped, at a certain time, they stopped. The reason why they stopped probably is because they stopped putting tefillin also, So they stopped this and that.
Mm-hmm.
So like one goes with the other. It's like a package deal, whatever. So they stopped that. But according to Kabbalah of the Arizal, talit gadol is a very crucial thing, in prayers. It's like a whole system of holiness,
I'm sorry, Rabbi. There's also a group of thought that to my knowledge, that people also wear certain tefillin during mincha.
Okay, so
Right. So I mean, the people who wear this tefillin for mincha, is it like proper to do this?
oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, well, yeah, those guys who wear the shimush haraba,
Right.
they're probably also gonna put on talit as well.
Right. Okay.
But today we don't have people like this, very rare. Only in the Kabbalistic yeshivot, go to the Kabbalistic yeshivot, which you don't have any, by the way, here in New York.
Right. Would it be considered yuhara?
Maybe we should open one. What do you say, Yitzchak?
Would it be considered yuhara if a person were to do that?
Should we open one up and look like we're cool guys, like with all Kabbalistic garb?
There was one guy.
Nisim, should we?
I mean, I'm sure that's not the
stand out
intention.
and look like cool guys.
I'm sure that's not the intention, but like, would it fall under the prohibition of yuhara?
Old guy.
Yeah.
On Shabbat was.
Right. Yeah, you caught me, Nisim. You caught me. Okay. I got caught there. Okay. Okay, you guys are pretty sharp. Okay, that's good. You're on the ball. All right, very good. Yeah, I think we'll stick to shot for now, for the next 30 years or so. And then we'll see what happens.
All right.
Once I start getting my social security check, then check in on me. We'll see what happens. Okay, so here we go. As we said, right, that ish lo mar ze ela outside. Ve'efshar dehaki kamar. So it's possible that he said like this. Derech ha'atifa rechava lekomat ish. ונמצא ששתי ציציות נופלות לו מצד ימין מצד שמאל. So the whole thing, right, it could be that he's trying to emphasize that you need two tzitzit, on the right side, two tzitzit on the left side. It has to be like evenly distributed on your body. Maybe that's the point that he's trying to make here, right? וצריך שיחזיר שתי הציציות, and you have to put two ציציות לפניו, two in front of you, ושתיים אחריו, and two behind you, evenly distributed. But talit katan, and so when it comes to talit katan, mimela hem shte tzitziot, it always comes out like that. In other words, there's no other way to wear it, right? It has to be on the four corners. Lefanav u'shtayim v'shlacharav misham mishum ha'achi, he says, because of this, nakat rechava lekomat ish. So that's why he took this language of being on the height of the body, whatever. Mishum de behait gavna u'shetzarich lomar ba machazir shte tzitziot v'nacharav u'shte lacharav. So he's talking really about talit gadol more. Katuv but Mordechai. Says the Mordechai, Dehane talitot katanim shelanu. So he says, our talit katan that we have, that we use, enam mina muvchar. So he says, that's not really the best stuff. Not the best type of thing. Why? Delo mikre asher techaseba. It's not really covering the whole body, That's the thing. Aval ve'af rosho mashma. So he says, you know what the problem is? You're not covering your head with it. This is the problem, he says. When it says the whole body, it means also the head. All kinds of opinions we have here, Take a little grain of salt. Hi. Join us. Come sit down. Okay. So it says, when it says you should cover yourself with it, you have to have your head also covered. A little bit on your head also. It says in שיעור טלית שהקטן מתעטף בו. Right? You have טלית קטן, that the katan, you have to, at least the katan should be able to wrap himself with that. Rosho v'robo, right? His head and most of his body. The gadol yotze bo aray. So even a gadol can fulfill his obligation once in a while with something like that. Mashma tzarich sheyeh alav shem malbush rawi lechasut. So it says, you see from there that it has to be something which is called clothing. In other words, it can cover you. The pachot, the katan, at least for a child, the siman the davar. So it says the sign is that we bless the tzitzit. The avel atifat arosh, and also it says when it comes to mourners, they do the head. L'chach koreh Rabbi Tagar al osin ben betzitzit ben belo betzitzit. Ki rafia be'adeh mishum safek maaser le'aniach talit ba arba kanfot belo tzitzit. Right. So he says. Therefore, he says, my rabbi says. Complains about this. What does that mean? That whether they make it with tzitzit or without it, because he's not really sure if it's obligated. Uval Orchot Chaim says Orchot Chaim. So in other words, this rabbi has a different approach here. Uval Orchot Chaim Katav. It says Orchot Chaim shematza b'tshuva. He found in tshuva she'oseh talit kazeh, make a talit like this. Umbarech litatef. If you bless litatef, over al lotisa, right? You're transgressing one of the 10 commandments. So what does that mean? You're making a bracha l'vatala. You're saying blessing in vain. Why is that? Because you're not really doing ituf. You're not really wrapping yourself with that. It's not big enough for that. It's not. This is the reason why, by the way, that a lot of people, most people, when they put on talit katan, they bless al mitzvah tzitzit, no leitatef. They don't bless leitatef because it's not really literally, shaykh there, according to some opinions, whatever. Okay, so anyway, Yosef says, he argues with all these claims. That which we say litatef, it's according to their custom. But it says, read according to the din, called kesut shel arba kanfon. If you have any clothing with 4 corners, you have to do tzitzit there. So therefore, you do fulfill your obligation. That's what he's trying to say, right? You fulfill your obligation with tzitzit. Even though you're not really covering your whole body, number one. And number two, also, you're not really covering your head. You're not really wrapping yourself. Yeah.
So if you follow one or the other opinion, right? If you say I'm supposed to say Tomei Katan.
Yeah.
And then the Gadol will say
Itatev.
Is there a chance you're doing bracha in vain? Because it's either one or the other, right?
Oh no! See, for the big one, it's shaykh to say litatuf because you're covering your whole body. You know what I mean? But for the little one, it's not shaykh. That's the whole thing, right? That's the reason why.
But if you already put on it,
right?
Oh, but you.
Yeah, each beggar needs its own blessing. Yeah, right, exactly. We're gonna get to that, by the way. We're gonna talk about that soon. So anyway, right, that's the way it goes. But as I mentioned tonight in the class over there in the shul, the custom is now to bless on the big one for both. We don't bless on the small one, and we just do it on the big one, and we have in mind also the small one. This way we kill 2 birds with 1 stone, as they say, right? Okay, so that's the way it goes. Okay, let's go on. So it says, right, it says, and if you're going to tell me because you're covering with yourself, you have to cover yourself. It's not coming to tell you about covering your head or the body. It's coming to include the clothing of the blind, or barat chamesh, or let's say you have 5 corners in the beged instead of 4. They said in the Talmud, has to be something which at least the katan can put on, and cover his body. And the big one will come out with that like once in a while. In other words, it's big enough for him to wear, in a difficult situation. It's going to be liable for tzitzit. But he says that doesn't have enough slack to also do your head. It's not big enough, for the gadol. The kisui robe and also cover the most of your body. It's only for a child. So therefore, it must be what we said. In other words, you don't really need that. You don't really need to cover the whole body. So that's the custom now, he says. What does that mean? What's the custom? We make talit katan, right? And we use that, right? Because it's still we're fulfilling the mitzvah of seeing the tzitzit, right? Which the Torah tells us, right? Right? You remember the whole Torah. You remember to be with Hashem. So when it says you should see them, it comes to exclude something which is a night beged, a beged for the night, clothing for the night, pajamas, pajamas. Really. Or the clothing of the blind. But not a clothing which is under the miktoren. That's how you pass in halachot, right? The halachot gedolot. That's this book, the Rabbi that Gaon. So he says there's no question about that. So in other words, basically what he's saying is that we have no questions, no issues with that. We put talit katan, no problem, right? We have no issues. We do fulfill obligation with that. He schemed Balai to also Balai to agree with that. So then he goes on. He wrote over there the name of the Rach, or Zarua, Shem Maharam Hora, the Maharam Paskins, the Varech al Talit Katan. Oh, so what did he say? make a blessing on talit katan, sheyesh lo bet hatzavar, even though if it has a collar, but and we wear it, the clothing, katab delo mechayev derech levisha. But his father said, right, that he's not obligated when he wears it like that. Ela derech ituf, only when he wraps himself. Because that's a blessing, litatev. Umehach the or zarua, so he says from here, from the or zarua, right? I saw kama talmidei chachamim. They learned from here, some rabbis, nagu litlot talit katan b'ritzuah b'tzavar. Oh, so what they do is they hang talit katan with some kind of a strap on the neck. Umunach kol talit me'achorehem. So the whole talit is like behind them. So I guess it groups down the whole body. The mala, the ketafaim rak shete tzitziot. So he says above you have two tzitziot on the shoulders, and you're not nichbelu lifnehem, and then it's like folded over in front of them, ala chazeh on the chest. Udatam b'derech zeh says according to this, chashiv ituf. It's like they consider that to be like you're wrapping yourself. Below levush, it's not just clothing. When you hear the beotot derech, so he says according to this, he says seems named the lav ituf mikre. It's not really ituf, this thing. He says not really wrapping. The ituf bekom makom mashma atifat harosh. Because why? Because ituf, it always implies that you're wrapping your head as well. So he says in those days, their clothing had hoodies. You know what I mean? That's the way it was. So it's a part of the garb. And the body as well. This is the reason why they decreed to bless Leit HaTefetzit. It says according to us, the whole kesut shelanu rak lechsut haguf, that all our right thing is on the body, right? We're not really concentrating so much on the head. And nireh klal shetipater betzitzit lituf lo ktiva velo remiza beoraita ad kan. So it says, but in our case, you're not really going to, fulfill the obligation with the talit katan. So he doesn't like it. Behagur katav b'shem ma'ari mulin. So this is why Rabbi writes, Shalpi or zarua. According to or zarua, nahagu ksat la'asot chatichat merubat b'tzuot. So this is what they do is they make some kind of a square little piece with scraps. Achen yesh la'asot ha'ktafayim rechavot. Make the shoulders wide. Mekan u'mekan. The lo lete avila dehai gisa. There shouldn't be any airspace there. But till then, nullify it. Okay, so yeah, it should be directly on the body. That's what we must see. Umari kolin katav b'siman kuf bentet. He says, Umari kolin she'en lismoch al zeh. Don't rely on this. He says, katav arach. So Rach said, b'shem aviv, in his name of his father, v'lo mechayev derech lebisha. That you don't really have to do way of clothing. Ela derech ituf. Only when you wrap yourself. Shekvar nahagu kol Yisrael, because all Jews now levarech al otan talitot shel arba kanfot. They bless on those talitot, those asiyot ke'en grutia. They're made like a grutia, meaning the small ones. The gam ha'agul katav b'shem Maria Molin. He also wrote, this rabbi, al to'ar surat talit katan. He wrote, what does the talit katan look like? How does it? What's the shape? Lo raiti nohagim la'asot bo. It says lulaot. I don't see anybody who does these loops in them. Like hagenu bebet hatzavar. Rather, it's like our custom. That they have a collar. So in other words, the collar holds it up, like ours, pretty much that's what it is. It's being held up by the collar. So that's the way it says our big rabbis over here have custom. So they're not really concerned about or zarua. Rabbeinu Agadol Maria Vav says Maria Vav katav gamken de'amid. So he said dehane talitot ktanim. These talitot ktanim that we have, the small ones. Even though there's no ituf there, there's no wrapping. But we do fulfill obligation with the obligation of tzitzit. So in the end of his words, katab, if you really want to be like, really fulfill the mitzvah properly, right, precisely, you want to do the right way of tzitzit, wrapping it. So what should you do? Take it at the time when you make the blessing, right? The talit katan is talking about, right? And put it on your head. In other words, it's good to do that. To fulfill this obligation, putting it on your head, according to some opinions. Right? Lengthwise, right? Whatever. He says you're fulfilling a little bit, the obligation of putting it on your head. wrapping or whatever.
Right.
כתוב בתרומת הדשן.
Right, quick question. Do they mean if they say leads a temperature on the katan, then you should put it?
I'm
on
sorry,
the
what's that
head?
again?
Because they're saying leads a temperature, that's why he says put it on your head.
Yeah, in other words, in order to, because we see, right, that there's two opinions over here, right? One says it's enough to wear it. The other one says, no, you got to wrap, you know? So he says, in order to do the wrap, you know, the other side as well, the other opinion. So try to like wrap it also a little bit before you put it on, you know? Wrap it on your head.
Right. We didn't get to the part where they
Yeah.
say do the other bracha. I didn't mix
Oh, we're going to get to that later, right. וזה לשלום, מטריד שיש לו בבית הצבא, יעשינו קצת גדול שיוכל לחזות ראשו ברור. So this is what he says, right? The Tumat Adeshin. So if you're doing talit katan, you want to put talit katan. So this is what you should do. Put it on your neck, right? In other words, have a collar there, you know, that holds it up, and make it large, you know, like slightly large, on larger sides. So what does that mean? It should be enough to cover your head and your most of your body, from the back. V'shat bracha. So it says at the time of the blessing, itatfenu al rosho. Put it on your head, wrap it on your head. Yavshilenu, and then put it down on your body. Yeah, it's a chumrah, you know, but whatever. And you like stand like that, you know. The time it takes to walk 400, like you wait like that, you know. Just pause, like they do with Ishmaelim, you know. They do a little pause over there, right? That whole thing, right? Then put it down off your head, in front of you. It should be hanging on your neck, with the collar, should talit with the talit. If you're going to tell me according to Or Zarua, there's really no mitzvah that he's wearing tzitzit when it's on your neck. But there's still to say, we don't really so makpid about that. Only in the beginning. So what does that mean? If you wrap yourself in the beginning, that's already, you know, something there also. They're not all the way that you're holding it like that, you know, all the way you have the mitzvah on you all throughout the day. So we brought a little bit source for this. Okay, very good. So we're going to do Shulchan Aruch here. So yeah, we got something done here. In other words, we're getting some interesting ideas going on. Okay, so now we're doing Gimel, right? Gimel Shulchan Aruch. Got that?
Mhm.
So it says like this: Talitot ktanim shelanu, our small talit. Shanu nohagim lilbosh, that we have been had to wear, right? Talit katan. Afapi she'en bahem ituf. Even though there's no ituf there, we don't really wrap ourselves. You'll see them yedei chabat tzitzit. You do fulfill your obligation of tzitzit. Tov leaniach oto al rosho rechavo kamoto tetepo. Good idea, you know, to also wrap your head with it a little bit, you know, like put it like lengthwise like this on your head and do a little action there, you know. Wrap it and you wrap your head. Right. Let's see you're gonna do that obviously at home, right? Not in the shul, right? Nobody puts something in the shul. So yeah, nobody's watching except Hashem. Hashem was only watching. So
Interesting side, right?
yeah, your children will enjoy it. Your children will get entertained by that. Okay, so as we said, yeah. So you should stand like that for like until the time takes to walk 400, which is about 2 seconds. I don't know, whatever, right? Something like that. Okay, so 400 is like 6 feet or 2 meters. So, okay, good. So then he says, and then pull it down and put it on your body, right? So it's good to do that, not obligation. Yeah, so we'll leave that to your discretion. Okay, very good. Maybe we can get some more here, right? We still have time. Okay, yes, we're gonna go to Dalet. Did I finish the Shulchan Aruch? I finished it, right? Okay, good. Let's see what we have here. What do you have there? What is it called? you're saying it's labeled what? Is it labeled as bet? Dalit?
No, not up to Dalit, there's bits. Remind me of this.
But I don't have it, so, but how does it start, by the way? What's the word?
The Dalit?
Machazir, right? Machazir. That's okay, that's how I'm gonna start. You're saying there was something before that also?
After.
Okay, after, oh, that's good, fantastic.
After
No
it's
problem.
Out of order, I think.
Yeah, it's out of order, it's usually out of order. So it says, Machazir shtet tzitziot lefanav. So it says, what you do is, this is the language of the Torah, right? You put two tzitzit in front of you, shtet tzitziot lefanav, and two tzitzit behind you. Gam ze midivei balai too. So this also comes to me too. It says Maran Bet Yosef. Chen katuv berokeach. You see what it says? It says in berokeach. Katav deita b'midrash. It says that it doesn't. It says in the midrash. Pasuk ve'amayim lahem choma. It says right that the water was like a wall. You know, it's talking about the Kriyat Yamsuf, the splitting of the sea. Sheichriz Gabriel lamayim she'acharehem. So he says Gabriel, the angel Gabriel, announced to the water, right? So he told them, you know, stop there, don't drown them. Why? Because they're gonna have the schut of the right to tzitzit. They're gonna put tefillin behind them, after that. So in other words, the schut of the tzitzit, right, and tefillin, right, is what saved them from drowning there. According to this. Okay. V'agat Maimon, Sof Milchot Tzitzit. In Hagat Maimon, you see over there, and the end of the laws of Tzitzit. Maite Yerushalmi brings Yerushalmi over there. Gemara Yerushalmi. The Kamar Gabe Katan says regarding a child. Lo sof davar leitantef ela she yodea leashlich shte kanfot leacharav. So yeah, also in other words, he's telling you have to put two corners behind you. So don't put like all the corners in front of you. You know, that's not a proper way to wear the talit. That's what he's trying to say. Okay, good. So now we'll do Shulchan Aruch Dalet, right? And then we'll go back to that with Yosef. You mentioned. It's very short, right? It says Machazir shetet tzitziot lefanav. You see that? It says you put two tzit in front of you, and two behind you. Why? Because we want to be surrounded with mitzvot. It's surround sound, right? That's what we want. So yeah, that's the way it goes. Yeah, that's great. That's a great thing. Okay. You know, there's a midrash like this, right? That David HaMelech, you know, he says, I always want to be surrounded with mitzvot, you know, like my whole life. So he says, but he says, I never knew what to do in the bathhouse, you know, like I can't have my tzitzit, I have to take it off. When I go in the bathhouse. So he says, then he says, I remember, you know, I have my milah. My milah is still on my body. That's the mitzvah that I'm surrounded by. Okay. All right, good. Let's go back to Bet Yosef. Okay, so right now we're going to read Bet Yosef, but I'll pull up the Shulchan Aruch anyway. So we're going to go to that bet that you mentioned, right, afterwards. We'll read that. Bet, whatever it is. So it says, Mechaser Rosho shelo yeh begilui rosh. Right, as we said, right, you should cover your head. It shouldn't be open, right? In other words, we don't want to bless with an open head, right? Uncovered head. That's the idea, right? Remember, we did this. We read this in the tour. The beginning, last week.
The blessing first, then whatever.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's no question. But what he's trying to say is like this, right? As we said, either you should have a kippah or cover your head with the talit.
Oh,
you can't bless without that, right? That's the thing, you know. Gam zeh midira balai tur. That's also a tour. When you read the lav lamemra the shechaser rosho, so he says it doesn't really mean to say that he should cover his head because his head shouldn't be uncovered. The gamma at all, altogether. I'm sorry. Why? Because it's not really related to tzitzit. In other words, why is he telling you this? It's not the mitzvah tzitzit. It's mitzvah kippah. You know, we already covered that before. You know what I mean? Covering your head. So why is he mentioning it over here? What's the, you know, why is it necessary to do that? The odd, this is furthermore, so he says, until now, right, how did he go to do the bathroom, right? We told him to wash his hands with a uncovered head. In other words, why are you telling him not to put on a head covering? He already put it on when he woke up.
Right.
So you see, he's already, you know, getting on, you know, he's getting into the problems over here. It doesn't make sense, this whole thing, you know. Okay, so that's the question. Good question. But so he says, really, you know what the meaning is? Even though his head is already covered, because otherwise, how did he wash his hands? How did he walk to the bathroom? Right? Oh, so he says, the people who are tsanua, they put like one more, like another one, another covering. That's why we do. What do? We put we put the talit on the head, right? The truth is we do that, after we bless. So let's see how that works. So that talit or rasham, right? So the truth is, he says even a handkerchief. In other words, he's not really telling you to put that talit on. That's not the issue. He's telling you put a second covering. The tzinuim put two. And by the way, you should know that the custom of the rabbis, is to have two coverings. That's why they put on a hat. This is the reason. Yeah, there's a kabbalistic thing there, So but also in the halakha it's brought down. You should have two coverings when you pray Amidah. Things like this. So yeah. So he's telling you right. Even here, it's like for the tzinuim, for the people who are modest. In other words, holy people, whatever. They should put on another covering there. We don't do it, by the way. I don't see anybody doing that today. But anyway, like it says in the first parak of Kiddushin, Kaftet Amud Bet, so he says that Rav Chasda used to praise Rav Huna, Berav Hamnuna, the Adam Gadol who he's to tell him, he's Gadol, he's a big person, Adam Gadol, he's a big Chacham. So he says, oh, really? He's a big chacham? He says, when he comes to you, bring him to me. I'll check him, if he's really a big chacham. I'll check him out. So he says, when he came, he saw he didn't have a second covering, He goes with one covering. So he's like a regular guy in the street, What? He wasn't a big Adam Gadol. If he's Adam Gadol, he should be wearing two coverings, You should look like Baba Sali. What's going on with you? That's the thing.
Nisim, I'll meet you at the store. The hat store.
Sounds good. That's
a good one.
We'll be there.
By the way, let me recommend to you, okay? If you're buying a hat, don't go to the store. Order it on Amazon. Pay about a quarter of the price, one or a sixth of the price. Okay.
Rabbi,
In the
when I
store,
pray,
my hat costs $300. I bought it on Amazon for $60.
I wear
know your size. Just
I wear like a
size and order it on Amazon. I'm sorry.
I wear like a knitted hat when I pray usually to cover the whole head.
Right, I got that. Yeah, that's also cool.
Yeah,
they
said that you should cover your whole head. Something about.
Right. But also, there's inyan, like the person who's kadosh, like chacham or something, you should wear two coverings.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, in Kabbalah, there's also three coverings. There's also that, in the Kitvei Arizal, put down. Even three is even better, So there are some Nekubalim who wear like three. By the way, who used to do this? My wife told me, that Baba Sali's daughter was her friend, So she told me that she wears three coverings, Baba Sali's daughter. She wears three coverings. All the more so Baba Sali himself. Kosher can, right? All the more so. So yeah, so three coverings, okay, Nisim.
Like you said, when my social security check comes in.
Okay. I think mine is coming before yours.
Yeah, for
sure. I think so. Sure. Okay, so anyway, I'm a little bit ahead of you. So anyway, right, let's go on. So it says, so he saw that he didn't have So he told him, he says, why don't you put on a handkerchief on your head? Like we're not Baba Sali? Told him, I told him the Lana Sivna, he told him, he answered him. He says, I'm not married yet, Rabbi. I'm just a bacher. Got it? I'm not married yet. I'm just a regular guy. So it's like Rabbeinu Tam, he told him, I don't put Rabbeinu Tam because I'm not married. That's what we do, the Sfardim, right? We don't put it until we get married. So, okay, good. So Rashi explains, the La Paris Sudra Kederech HaNesu'in. So he didn't put the handkerchief like the ones who are married, in other words, the married guys, because they used to cover their head. עד כאן לשונו. פשיטא שלא היו הבחורים הולכים בגילוי ראש. So says Maran, well, what do you think? It's not talking about here that people used to go with an open head, all together. It's not talking about that. Nobody used to go with uncovered head in those days. ממש, אלא ודאי היינו סודר, או טלית שפורסין על הראש בצניעות. So what he meant to say was that I don't wear two coverings, for tzniut, that's the idea. By the way, it also says about women, in the Gemara Shabbat over there, that married women are supposed to wear two coverings.
Good luck with,
you know what I mean?
covering
So
one.
what's today? We're not so makpid about that. But in those days, the custom was the woman would wear like a handkerchief on top of her head, and then like a bigger covering, covering like the whole head. So they used to have two. This was the proper way to go around in those days. Today, we don't see that so much. The custom has changed, unless you have but there are some very again, the holy ladies, they do cover their head with two, If you're Baba Sali's daughter, you put three. Okay, God bless you, right? Whatever it is. Okay, so that's the way it goes. Okay, so it goes on to say, so it goes on. So he's saying, look what he says, right? Incredible. What's the reason for this? Why should we put two coverings? Because it makes you humble. It humbles the heart. Oh, wow, that sounds good. Oh, that's beautiful. Wow. Humility. It brings you to fear of God. Oh, God bless. You have two coverings, it brings you to fear of God. Wow. בסוף מסכת שבת, מסכת שבת, דאמרה לרב נחמן, that Rav Nachman, his mother told him, he said, cover your head, cover your head so you should have irat shamayim, you should have fear of God. The person who covers his head has fear of God, especially when he wears two. Oh, that's even more, right? So therefore he said, cover your head with the talit. You shouldn't be open your head. Mesudar or talit, right? You got to put two coverings. Which is a way to put on top of your kippah. So first your kippah, and then another one on top. By the way, one time I saw Maran, Maran was interesting, like every time I would see him pray, he had a different style going on, different moda, different fashion going on, right? So sometimes I used to see Maran praying, his body was like still, like most of the time. He wouldn't move his body, like Ben Ish Chai says, you shouldn't move your body. Sometimes I would see him like shaking like this, his body. He fulfilled all the opinions. One time this one time that. He was incredible, So because the Ramah says you should shake when you pray, shake. By the way, there's a machloket in the Mekubalim about this, because there's a Zohar that says, that when Jews learn Torah, they shake, So some say it also applies to prayers as well. Some say it doesn't apply to prayers; it only applies to learning. Okay, whatever. So anyway, right? Yeah. So, but what I meant to say is that Maran one time, he used to wear usually two coverings, like the kippah and the talit for shachrit, But one time I saw him wearing three. What did he do? He put the kippah and then the black hat, and then the talit on top of the black hat. So he also did Baba Sali style. He also did that. He did everything, the rabbi. He was very, he liked all the opinions. Okay. So that's the way it goes. So this is possible. It says like this. Oh, so it says there's also another way to learn this. So you know what he's saying? The proper way to fulfill the mitzvah tzitzit, the real best way, is to have also your head covered with the talit. You know what I mean? That's also another possibility. So in other words, it's not because you need two coverings. That's a different issue. That was the first opinion. Now this opinion is saying something else. He's saying that it's when you cover your head, the best thing to cover your head with is the talit itself. And that's why the people who are God-fearing, what they do is they put the talit on their head, and when they do Amidah, at least, right? When they do Amidah, they put talit on their head. Yes, because this is the best way to pray like that. Because this is the best way to wear the tzitzit, to have your head covered. Like we mentioned, right? There's different opinions, Some say you have to have your head covered as well. So this is the thing, So therefore, But what's the practical difference over here? Practical issue, right? What's better, to cover your head with a hat when you pray shachrit, or to cover your head with a talit? According to this, the talit is better, right? Because you're doing the mitzvah of tzitzit properly.
It's blocking the peripheral. You don't get distracted,
Okay, yeah,
right?
that's also, yeah, that's a different issue. Yeah, today we need that too. We need blockers, we need blockers. So, right, okay, so that's the story in a sense. So therefore, the proper thing to do is to put your talit when you say shachrit, when you say the amidah at least. I'm not talking about the other parts. Okay, so that's that, and beautiful. Okay, so we'll do the Shulchan Aruch. We'll stop there. So we're doing hey, right? I'm sorry. You know what? This one was really a part of bet.
Oh, yes.
Okay, I guess we'll stop here. Because we don't have a Shulchan Aruch here. So, Bezat Hashem. Okay, thanks for coming, guys. Laila Tov. See you tomorrow, hopefully. And have a good night. God bless you. Wealth, health, happiness, all the good things, all the joy. And all right, be blessed. Laila Tov.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi. I'll see you.
God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi. Great
It's on your school. Yitzhak, you're the one who started this whole thing. It was your idea. You opened your mouth and all of a sudden we're here. I don't know how.
God bless you, Rabbi.